than your currency. Splurging millions, buying houses like Monopoly. Fucking 9 to 5, man, the money is a...
Hey guys and girls, welcome to this week's episode of the No BS with Birchy podcast. I'm your host Nathan Birch, and this is the show unraveling the truth to the facade of the 21st century. We're now exiting the matrix and waking up to motherfucking reality. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022. What an awesome year 2021 was, and how exciting is now. It's an interesting time to be alive. And I just wanted to start the year off with an interesting topic. I was thinking over the break, a bit about our community, how it's grown, how it's developed, and where everyone's at today compared to, where people were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And I remember when I first started the business, I sort of always talked about telling your boss where to go. My slogan was, tell your boss where to go, and we'll teach you how to live life on your terms so you don't have to go to a job for the next 40 years of your life. And the thing that I've realized, probably at the start of 2020, is people started getting scared of, the boogeyman and all that sort of stuff that's happening out there. And then as the year went on, it became more and more of a joke, and we saw that there was strings being pulled and agendas that are in the way. And I've talked about a little bit with my professional network within the business and the group of companies that it's interesting that 10 years ago we were helping people, quit their job and, retire and all that sort of stuff. Today, we're helping people, we're getting calls from people on how to help them escape a war. And it is a bit of a war zone out there. It is scary for a lot of people, and there's a lot of people in positions that are being pushed to where they don't want to be, being told they have to do certain things and all that sort of stuff. And what I realize is that I always said live life on your terms. You're an individual person. You should be doing what you want, how you feel like, and all that sort of stuff. But the biggest thing that I get today is, how do I just escape it all? How do I get out of it? And I have never seen so many people redesigning their life as what I have in the last 12, 24 months. And types of things that I'm seeing out there isn't just, I want to quit my job because I want to retire at the age of 40 instead of 60 or anything like that. We're seeing people who are coming in saying, I'm going to leave Sydney, I'm going to move to the bush, I'm going to move to the ocean, I'm going to set up a business, I'm going to travel in a caravan, I'm going off grid, I'm going to grow my own food, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So, we're all about that, right? We're all about doing cool shit and doing what you want. And that's what this business has always sort of been about. And so today I want to talk about how to live off grid. I don't live completely off grid, but I do like to have my own supply chain and being able to control things, right? I like being in control of my own life. Being in control of your own life, people think, you just need to have money and cash flow. But I've talked about it a lot. You need to have food, you need to have water, you need to have electricity, you need to have shelter, you need to have the ability to do what you want. And that's real freedom. And how do you get that? You might have mum and dad living in Western Sydney that bought a house for 400 grand and it's now worth $1 million. If they sold it, they might have $500,000 in the bank account. Their friends, their family, everyone's around. How do we go and live the rest of our life without having to take medical procedures and all that sort of stuff? And that's the important questions, right? How do you start a farm? How do you build a property that can be self-sufficient? How do you be sustainable? At the time of doing this podcast, literally you can see if you're watching this on YouTube, I've got a nice tan going on because I'm walking along the beach every day and, day in, day out doing 5Ks, doing 10K sort of walks along the beach, and life's pretty good on that front. But looking at sustainability, the reason why I said you're going to see that I'm tanned and whatnot is because what's happening right now is something we predicted 6 months ago, 24 months ago, and we know it's going to get a lot worse. And I think it's going to get a hell of a lot worse in 2022. Supply chain breakdown. So looking at the breakdowns out there, if you want to go buy meat, you just got to go to your local Coles or Woolworths sort of store. You'll see that there's no food, there's no toothbrushes, there's no nappies, there's no Panadol, there's no clothes, there's nothing at Bunnings, there's stuff that's missing out there in the shops everywhere. And I think it's starting to realize to people that shit, what happens if I can't get food? What happens if I can't get meat? It's important. I've been talking about this for a good 18 months about getting food, getting trees, getting crops, getting a veggie garden, getting animals, whatever you need to get you're self-sustainable, so you're not relying from the strongest person from the street to be able to go and ask for favours from, which is the government that we have to go to. So how do we get there? Like, what is your strategy to sort of overcome that sort of position? So for me, I've been buying properties. I've got myself in a financial position, which is great. And I've been able to use that to then go and buy large pieces of land, to be able to get myself animals, to be able to get myself hoarding of different sort of things that I need, supplies and all that sort of stuff. I'm in a position where I've played around with solar. I've got free energy wherever I want to be. I've got ability with vehicles to be able to get myself off grid. But, you might be sitting here in 2022 going, shit, I need to start this right now. And, I'm starting way behind. Where do I start? What do I pick up? So think about it, right? Importantly, if we don't have food and we don't have water, we're dead. So we need to have food and water. I think it's important that everyone has some sort of access to supplies, whether that be, hoarding a little bit of staples and whatnot. So you've always got access to those sort of things. But also, having endless supplies. If you look at your food that you're eating, if you're buying vegetables, people say, oh, I've got vegetables, they're fresh vegetables. No, they're not. They're being sprayed with countless amounts of chemicals. They're used with specific type of seeds. They're genetically modified organisms, which people are, consuming because, for example, if you have, there's a thing, I think it's like MON18, which is Monsanto corn. Normal corn, you spray glyphosate, which is Roundup, onto it. It will die. Anything will die when you spray Roundup on it. If you spray it on yourself and you get Roundup on yourself, you probably end up with cancer. It's a very common thing out there for people to get cancer from it. But if you spray it on this genetically modified organism, it means that it doesn't kill the actual fruit and vegetable. So that's the benefit of them using these sort of seedlings. But if you're growing your own fruit and vegetables, you can see what you're putting on them. What I've always suggested to people, if you want to go and grow your own fruit and vegetables, grow your own trees, you can go to Bunnings, pick up these GMO style trees that have been modified already because they come from the big corporations, or you could go out there and plant your own trees. Countless amounts of videos on YouTube how to grow a tree from seed, for example. You could get every fruit as a seed. Did you know, for example, that strawberry, you want to grow a strawberry plant, the seeds are on the outside of the plant. That's what the little seeds are on the outside. They can grow strawberry trees from. So there's ways of how to germinate strawberry trees for strawberry plants from the seedlings on the outside of the fruit. So if you go and find yourself organic fruit, which hasn't been, GMO'd to come to you, and then you use the seeds from those things, you can grow yourself more wholesome vegetables and fruit and produce and whatnot. So that's probably something. Go and find out how to grow your own food. If you don't have a vegetable garden, grow one. Find someone that's got a house that you can go and utilize their garden or their land or whatever. Find a balcony on your unit, put yourself some little trellises and grow some trees and vegetables and cucumbers and whatever you need on that. I've seen a lot of people doing that, and awesome to be self-sustainable, self-sufficient. It actually tastes better, and it's not sprayed with all the chemicals. Looking at your own water, there's this thing called Tap Springs, I think it is. There's a website that you can go to. I'll find it. I'll actually post it in the Birch feed. So if you're not on Birch feed, I think it's very important. We're living through the apocalypse. Go to birchfeed.com. Make sure that you are subscribed to that. I send random shit all the time to everyone in there. It could be something about financial markets, could be something about the medical procedure, could be something about something, and it's interesting. So I will post it in there about these tapped springs. There's a website where you can type in where to find a spring. So a lot of people out there buying spring water from Mount Franklin or Coca-Cola or whatever. They all come from the same sort of companies. Can you trust these companies? Can you have these on demand? There's a lot of springs out there. There's these things called tap springs. You can go and take your own bottles and get fresh water directly from a spring. Interesting, something you never talked about beforehand, but you can go and get your own spring water. I know that there's a couple of them around Sydney. I'm fortunate enough to have springs on some of my properties, which is pretty cool. But you know, I also think there's some really cool ones out there as well. I haven't gone to check it out. I saw it on something I was looking at the other day, and I was like, that's pretty cool. And I checked up within Sydney, and there's some springs in Sydney that you can go to as well. So make sure that you have control of your food. Have some chickens to lay some eggs. Have some chickens so you can have some sheep and have some cows. It's important to have your own produce as well, because meat is going to become a thing of the past. If there's one prediction that I can make for 2022, it will be that meat will become a thing of the past. And it's funny that when you go to the shops, there's a supply chain issue. However, there's a lot of plant-based meats that are still available. We can't get actual meat. A lot of people say, I've been healthy today. I've gone and got myself a quarter chicken, a full chicken, a roast chicken, and I have some vegetables with it. Do you know how much it costs to grow a chicken, right? Do you know how much it costs? It's about $30, $40 to grow a chicken to full size. How can Woolworths, Coles, or any of those large format supermarkets be able to provide you with the chicken which is cooked for $9, right? You've got to grow it, you've got to have the handler that's got to feed it, you've got to rent the space, you've got to get it, you've got to slaughter it, you've got to depuck it, you've got to do these certain things to be able to get that chicken to the plate. Then they've got to cook it, they've got the electricity, you've got the cooling, they've got the refrigeration, got all the transport. How can you do it for $9, right? They fill them completely full of chemicals. And there's this thing the other day that I saw, someone told me to watch it and it ended up on my TV, is something on Netflix called Super Size Me Part 2, some guy that went to Macca's beforehand, and then he made a video called Super Size Me Part 2. Interesting watch, not that I like anything on those sort of networks, but it was an interesting watch nevertheless of how they actually grow these chickens, right? These chickens born, they're special genetically modified one, they grow super quick, they don't have feathers, their body grows so quick that they don't grow feathers into them. And when they get to their full size, their actual legs crack and they break their legs. They're just like a body because their legs can't hold them up because they grow so fast. It's kind of fucked up. But, you know, otherwise for your food, when you buy a chicken, when I get a chicken, it tastes completely different, right? And it's about $50, $40 to buy a chicken that you cook yourself. So it's very important to understand what you are putting into your body and what you are eating. And if you can control that line of command, even better. I can't sit there and say I do it perfectly well, but I make sure that I've got a community, got connections. People sit here and say it's hard to get meat at the moment. I've still got meat, I've got access to meat. I've got someone tomorrow that I'm going to meet that's a butcher, and he's like, do you want me to bring some meat for him? Like, no, we'll get a big order of it very shortly and put in the deep freeze chest freezer. So there's something for you. Go get yourself a chest freezer, go find yourself good contacts to get good produce into your body. What are the sort of things? Do you have a water tank attached to your house? What happens if water gets poisoned? When I first heard about this alleged illness, I thought to myself, shit, imagine the water getting poisoned. So I actually got scared for maybe the first 2 weeks of everything. So I understand when people get fearful, but then I realized, you know, it's just a scam. They're issuing a certain digital passport sort of system that everyone's going to be jabbed and put into, and I could see it immediately. And I was like, this is cool. I'm relaxed now because it's not the end of the world. It's just the end of the world that people realize. So at that first point, I thought, what happens if there's an illness? It's like a Stephen King movie and everyone dies, and how am I going to be able to feed, get myself water? So I actually went and bought a lot of bottled water. But then, you know, if you think about it, if you have the water supply gets contaminated or something goes wrong, like the water supply at the moment gets fluoride put in it, it calcifies your pineal gland. There's a whole lot of other things that we've gone about water being, you know, mismanaged. But, you know, if you had access to a water tank, unless, you know, hell freezes over all of this and the sky is burnt and there's no water coming down, we won't be able to catch a rain off the top of our building. So if you don't have a water tank, it's better for the environment, and you could, you know, access some of that water that comes onto the roof of your property. I wouldn't recommend drinking it unless you've got a really good purification unit, which that takes me to the next thing of making sure you've got a UV sterilization unit for your water supply. Because when it comes off the roof, you've got all these chemicals, you've got chemtrails, you've got planes, you've got shit that comes through the sky, and your water is capturing particles from that. So you want to make sure you've got a good water filtration unit on your house. You want a tank, pumps. Don't just buy a water tank without a pump, because if you don't have a pump with it, how are you going to get the water out unless it's just gravity fed and you have to go to the thing. So my house that I live in Sydney, although I live in suburbia of Sydney, the property is for a better part sort of undeveloped. So I live very close. I've got a development 2 doors up, which is a large format sort of development, and in that estate, they've got taps and all that sort of stuff. In my house, I only have power, and that goes out every now and then. I don't have sewer. I don't have water. I've just got power, but that's pretty shit. So you need to make sure that you have access. So I'm kind of living off grid as it is in Sydney on a 10-acre parcel of land, but I've got little bug out zones which I can go to, which are not in Sydney. So I don't brush my teeth using fluoridated water and all that sort of stuff. I use tank water that's sort of UV sterilized at the same time. So looking at that takes me to the next step. If you don't have that house, you don't have that position in Sydney, well, where else do you go? Do you have a little farm that you can go to? Do you have a property that's out of suburbia that you could go and tap out and go and change, sort of hide to for a period of time? So whenever you see this brick wall, I'm at my beach house. I've got beaches to walk along and all that sort of stuff. And I like coming to my beach house. That's cool. But, my beach house is on a normal block of land. It's actually 2 beach houses. There's 2 duplexes on like 600 square block, 500 square block. So I don't have a big farm and all that sort of stuff here. I'm not coming here to do work. So that is that. But then, where else can you go out to? I've got a farm, and one of my goals this year is to build a property on the farm, which is 5 million square meters of land. The front fence is, I think it's about 7 kilometers of front fencing there. So, if they want to lock you down somewhere, you can be completely off the grid like that. But then what about if you want to go to somewhere that's very stealth? So people say it's very hard to buy something that's, self-sufficient. I just bought for a client of mine a 7-acre farm. I sent it to about 25 people on just around Christmas Eve. It was a property that I bought or secured through my buyer's agency for my investors. 3 houses in the same street have sold or on the market for 650 grand. I picked it up for 342 or 346 grand, something like that. It's under 350, and it was 7 acres, and it was in a coastal town in Queensland. And so it's half price for what it's worth. It's on 7 acres. It's 350 grand, and it could be self-sufficient. In that region, it's very good for growing mangoes and avocados and lychees and bananas and all that sort of stuff, sugarcane. So I'm sort of giving away where the area in the region is. But, it is possible. We're building wealth. We're talking about building property portfolio, all that sort of stuff. What's it take to spend an extra 300 grand, one of your investment properties, turn into a farm sort of scale sort of property? You have that, then you've got, could you buy one somewhere else? Like, a lot of people think it's impossible to build, to get yourself an off-the-grid property, right? I know people that have sold their house. They might have $500,000, $1 million in their bank account, or they've moved out of their houses, traveling in a caravan around. There's lots of potential there for you to, if you are one of those people that are like, okay, my lifestyle has been in Sydney. I hop in a suit, I hop in the bus, I hop in the train. Now I've got to wear a mask. Now I've got to get a procedure. Now I've got to do whatever. And I don't want to partake in that world. I want to move to the beach. I want to move to the country. Look at all the options of what you've got. Do you have equity in your house? Could you pull that equity out and use that to buy yourself an extra property? Are you selling your property and just going, shit, I'm moving out of the city. I'm going to move into my favorite coastal town, or whatever the case may be. It's an opportunity for you to go and recalibrate where you want to be in life and who you want to be, and what your connections are. So on that front, work out, do you want to build an off-the-grid property? I'm not the person to talk about off-the-grid property. I might do a video on that later this year, because the one that I'm going to be building, there's actually going to be 2 of them. One of them is going to be built on my house in Sydney, because my house that I bought only 18 months ago, it's just a nice big property. I'm going to be building a house that's still going to be off the grid on that property, but also building one out in the farm, the solar farm I call it, which is 5 million square meters of land, that I will be building a place there. So I can do a bit more information on that when it comes. But work out, you know, are you going to buy a place to put off the grid? Are you going to buy something already set up? Are you going to have a coastal place that you can go to? If anyone asks me, you know, where do you live? I actually don't have a fixed address. I just move in between all of my properties and stay where I feel like when I feel like it. But it's just a choice that I've been able to create over the years. Foundation portfolio, very important for doing that. The other thing as well is being mobile and having access to being able to hit the road and do what you feel like. Having a caravan, off the grid caravan, you can get some good ones out there. If you are looking to buy a caravan, if it's a brand new one, there's a 2-year waiting list on almost every single caravan that you could want. If you see one in a caravan shop, it's sold. They don't have them. If you order a new one, they will make it in about a year and it will arrive at the dealership, and then they won't release it to you for another year because they want to use it for showing as a demo model. So my one arrives, it's got solar panels, batteries, ensuite, kitchen, bunk beds, all different stuff in it. It's a 4-wheel drive one that I got, so you can take it off into, you know, really harsh sort of terrain. Pick that up. That comes in March. It's meant to be, but maybe May, between March and May, because I've got to wait for my big truck to come. Bought myself a big truck that can go through military style for the end of the world if it comes to that. But it's just good to have. It's a good towing vehicle. Think about, you know, how you're going to make your money, right? If you're going to be leaving the city, if you're going to be leaving your surrounds, how do you make money? What is your industry? What other things can you improve in your industry? How can you work remotely? How can you work from a computer? How can you build an extra sort of level of cash flow? Property investment's one of them. Obviously, it's what I talk about as my favourite go-to. That's sort of what we teach at B.Invested. But, you know, I understand that getting into a property portfolio, there's a lot of upfront capital that you may or may not have. And yeah, how do you build a cash flow stream to support your lifestyle? Naturally, property is the best go-to. However, you could start off with a business, you could start off with a blog, you could start off, you know, working and utilising your skill set. How can you turn that into some sort of product and be able to offer that as a solution so you're not tied into any sort of one job? I think it's very important if you are thinking of, you know, quitting your job and just sailing off in the sunset, you need to plan that strategy for that. And I think there's going to be a lot of people, like we can see here now, they say there's a skills shortage. There's still the same amount of people needing the same amount of things that they needed beforehand in the world. But why aren't people doing it? It's because of the forced medical procedure that you've got, you know, 10%, 15% of people that are working that are saying, I'm not doing that. It might actually be 30% of the people that are working don't want to take this, and all the retirees and all that are taking it, and all the kids are being forced to take it. But there's a lot less people out there because they're not allowed to turn up to their job. So how do you create an income source to support your lifestyle? And that also goes back down to, I guess, working out, you know, do you need the car loan? Like if you need 100 grand a year and you're like, shit, how do we produce 100 grand a year? Maybe it might be redefining your lifestyle and saying we only need 50 grand a year if we cut out the BMW car loan and cut out this and cut out the next thing. And I think it's important to have those discussions, to look at your position and work out, you know, what can we change? What can we alter to have the best life, to live life on our terms? Having access to power with solar. I'm not a electrician, I'm not an electrical engineer or anything like that. You can live completely off grid with solar. You need batteries to back up, unless you want to have, as the sun goes down, you go down and, you know, you don't have any power in the night time. I think it's important to, you know, do have access to that. All of my solars sort of setups are completely off grid. I've got a mate, his name's John. Sounds funny, right? I've got a mate, his name's John, wink, wink. His name's John. I went to school with him. And he specializes in these sort of things. He doesn't sell it, he doesn't use his time for anything like that. But we make little sort of random things that we do for cryptocurrency and whatever in mining perspective. And that's sort of why I bought a farm and using secondhand solar panels. So generally to set up a solar grid, it might cost you about 10 grand to set up some format of solar, battery storage, all that sort of stuff. I try to do it for like $1,000 utilizing secondhand panels and keeping regulators so I can regulate the current to keep it stabilized so you can run all your devices off it. So you can keep it completely off the grid, or you can reconnect to the grid. It comes down to what you want to do. I think that there's a lot of resources out there. The resources that are out there on YouTube, Google, blogs, Reddit, I guess, all those sort of things. Like, I've never really gone into it to completely live off the grid. I've got lots of people that do like fiddling around with stuff like this. So the opportunities are out there. For me, I just have lots of random things that I work on a day-to-day basis, and I research things. Like, there's lots of gardening sort of channels out there on YouTube, and tiny home things on YouTube. So go digging, go looking, go researching. But I think it's important to make that, have an understanding. Firstly, have the understanding that we are not just in some sort of sickness. We are in a war. This is a spiritual war on us. This is a war on people's intelligence. It's psychological warfare that we're in at the moment. And people are being pushed into servitude. People are being pushed in the corner. People are being forced to do things that they didn't want to do. It's important to understand what could that next left hook be. What opportunities do you have within your current position? How can you give yourself more options? For me, I've always said, property investing, I don't care about the property so much. I don't care about the money. It's just a vehicle to get me to where I want to be. And all properties do for me, and have ever done for me, is given me more options of what I can do, of freedom to do what I want, when I want, how I want. And I think that if you look at properties from that perspective, you're buying the properties to give yourself more options, freedoms of choice, freedoms to do what you want, not have to be working, all that sort of stuff. What other things can you do that aren't just property related that could give yourself more options as we go through this war? It makes us smarter, makes us more intelligent, makes us more resourceful, being pushed at this point. So that's why I'm excited as well. It doesn't mean that my life is the best, doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that I am alive, and I feel alive because I've got options, and I'm trying to be more resourceful and trying to be more strategic with those moves that I make in life, to have more opportunities in life. And I think everybody should be doing it. And the thing that gets me really excited is being able to see the growth in the community, and everyone's sort of point of view throughout the last 12, 24 months. And a lot of people are finding tough times. A lot of people are finding tough times and doing really cool things from that. And I think that there's no pain doesn't come without adversity. And this year I want to try and lose some weight because I've realised I haven't been working out. I haven't been looking after my physical health for a really long time. I'm always too busy, got too many things going on. And you can't have growth in, say, a muscle without doing the exercise and tearing the muscle before doing weights, doing whatever you're doing at the gym. So you need to face adversity to have growth. A lot of people are just finding pain and adversity and going, oh no, it's all too hard, and then just taking the easy pill out. But a lot of people are finding adversity and actually, achieving really cool shit and getting themselves to the best point in their life. So that's what I like working with. That's what I like seeing, and that's what gets me excited to get up nowadays, and obviously to make these sort of videos and whatnot. So, if you're not happy with the world that you're living at the moment, the world may be a messed up place, but yours doesn't have to be. You can have the choices of freedoms to do what you want, how you want. I think it's something important to make sure that you stock up on resources, make sure that you've got alternative sort of options for living and sort of residing in places. Have yourself ability to have food, power, and water specifically. Assets, cash flow, and barterability is very, very important as well, because you can't do anything without those things as well. Make sure you get all the bases connected in your life, so then you can have more freedom and ability to do what you want, how you want, when you want. If you need help, you can reach out to the team. As always, if you are not already on Birchfeed, make sure that you go to birchfeed.com and register to it. It's free. Don't need to be a tight ass. I send out, you can go watch an hour of Netflix every day, or you can go and research some of the videos that are in there. I've been posting an hour, 2 hour worth of content every day there, 365 days a year for the last, say, 4 to 5 years. So there's a lot of resources there that are before Corona, where we are today, and a lot of resources that are very relevant to the world that we're living in at the moment and the world moving forward. So make sure you go check it out, birchfeed.com. And as always, if you like this podcast, make sure you give us a like, share it around with your friends and family. You can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, And if you need help, you can reach out to us. As always, me and my team are here to help you guys kick ass with your goals and live life on your terms. Thanks a lot, guys. Catch up soon. Make sure 2022 is awesome in your best year of your life. Bye for now.
Like Bilal said, man, we're stuck in the matrix. This my advice, don't care if you take it. The dollar about to die, soon to be hyperinflated. This my 2 cents, don't care if you save it. Joint be decentralized and you will see you've been lied to the whole time, and it's the irony, cause they do the exact opposite. You become a slave to the system, enough your money, all they do is profit. There's no conspiracy theory, you better hear me. Crypto will set you free before the system does. I don't care if you do or you don't, but what I'm saying is the truth to the reason you choke. I've never been a failure, excuse my behavior. Keep talking, haters doing me a favor. They all telling lies, I know what they been telling you. I'm the opposite, the Donald Trump of Australia. It's amazing, here for the taking. My time is never wasted, just getting wasted. These girls say I'm really breathtaking. I can't help it if I really misbehaving.